So today we just got our Reese Goose Box Generation 3. It's the 20,000 pound goose box, and we're going to be trying to take off this pin box. So let's get to it.
We're going to start by detaching the cable hanger for the power cable, as well as the emergency brake cable. Once all cables and accessories are removed from the pin box, we're going to go ahead and remove the bolts holding the pin box in place. We decided to go ahead and remove all but 2 bolts, 1 bolt on each side. Once we had all but the last 2 bolts in place, we backed up the truck to catch the pin box. Once the truck was in place, we went ahead and removed the last 2 bolts. At this point, we had to shimmy the pin box loose because it was stuck in there pretty tight. This Rhino box was a lot lighter than I originally anticipated. Next, we loaded the new Reese Goose Box into the bed of the pickup truck and unwrapped it. Once we had it unwrapped, we decided to put blocks underneath it to align it and orient it.
So for us, we got the Goose Box Generation 3, and it comes with this set of instructions. As you can see, we are trying to figure out which mounting hole pattern is going to be best for us. So as you'll see, they list if you have a pin box, which is the Lippert 1621 on your rig, you'll have actually 2 options for mounting the Goose Box. They differ about 2 inches vertically. They also have a setup here if you have the Lippert 1716, again with 2 different orientations or positions. And then finally, they have instructions on how to mount the Goose Box if your rig comes with the new Rhino bolt hole pattern. So we actually thought initially that we had the Lippert 1621. When we went to go install it the first time, found out the bolt holes weren't lining up, and we did a little bit more research. Again, this is our first rig, so we're learning as we go here. Found out we actually have the Rhino bolt hole pattern, so we only have 1 orientation, 1 position. And our concern is we have a very steep driveway. It's about a 14-degree downward slope, so it's a very quick transition to the road, which is flat up above. And when we were actually getting the trailer down here, borrowing a family member's vehicle, we were pretty much bottoming out the bed rails on the bottom of our upper deck here. So our concern is with the Rhino bolt hole pin box that we have on our rig, we only got 1 position, so we don't have that much space for play vertically. And it's really going to come down to which ball that we're able to put inside of our bed, as well as what truck we go with. We're going to be looking at a 3500 GMC HD pickup truck. It's going to have a long bed. It's going to be a dually. We'll save that for another video, talking about how to pick a right truck. But for us, we heard a lot of stuff about the B&W ball, and a lot of good reviews on that. It's a taller ball, so we're hoping that it'll give us the 7-inch clearance that we're going to need between the bed rails and the bottom of our upper deck. So stay tuned for that. So we got the Goose Box set up here on the back of our truck. We're going to use this to move it around, so neither one of us, because there's only 2 of us, have to try to stand here and hold this 200-pound beast. So as you can see, our camper's a little low at the moment. We're going to go ahead and raise it up, back the truck up right underneath it, and then lower it back down. We might have to put a couple more blocks under here to help level out these holes, because we have the Rhino box. The hole pattern that we're going to be using are these upper 2 back ones and these ones here. So we're going to be lining those up with this bottom hole, and then the rest of the holes will line up, and that's where we know where we're going to be putting our bolts. So we're going to go ahead and raise our camper here, turn on the leveling system, and go ahead and press up. Takes a bit, but we'll get there. One thing we forgot to point out to you guys, because we kind of learned the hard way, is our camper is set up here, so we already had it auto leveled, and we noticed that when we were about to go raise the front of the camper up, we hadn't actually retracted the back jacks yet. So you might want to go ahead and retract your back jacks so that as the front comes up, you're not lifting your tires off the ground. Pro tip. Keep going. Keep going. Good. So again, we got the Rhino box. So we have to line up these two holes with the top and bottom ones that were there already previously. And then in the back here, we're going to be lining up these two top ones in the positions that they were previously mounted before. So per the instructions, we need to put this flat washer all the way onto the bolt, and then the bolt is going to go through our pin box, which is then going to go through the goose box, and we're going to have this conical shaped washer. And according to the directions, this serrated side you want pressed in against the inside of the goose box, and then your nut goes on. So we're going to take our washer and put the serrated side in towards the goose box, and then we're going to take our nut and bolt that on. And all we're trying to do here is get these first two lined up so that we can allow the entire goose box to hinge on these two, and we can align all the other bolt holes. So now that we got all the bolts in, we're gonna pull the truck up out of the way. The goose box will be hanging inside of the pin box. And the next step is to torque these down to 210 foot-pounds. So per the instructions, we gotta torque these down to 210 foot-pounds. So we got our torque wrench here. It's capable of going up to 250 as the instructions state. So we're gonna go ahead and line this up to 210. It's 200, 210. Go ahead and lock it down and get at it.
All right, it's time for safety. We got to install these safety chains. All right, let's take a quick look at the instructions here. So you're gonna need a 3/16 wrench, as well as a 3/16 inch socket and torque wrench. Torque wrench is gonna have to be able to go up to 110 foot-pounds. Looking at the diagram here, this is the underside of the goose box, and we'll show the actual thing in just a moment here. So on the underside of the goose box, there's these lugs, and you're gonna drop the bolt in from the top down through the lug in the goose box. Then you're gonna take the last link of your safety chain, put that on the bolt, followed by the large washer, small washer, lock washer, and finally the nut. And then you're gonna torque it down to the 110 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna start by just hooking in the safety chain so it's up out of the way for now. I'm gonna take the bolt, I'm gonna drop it through this lug under here. We're gonna take the last link of the safety chain and put that on. You're gonna aim it slightly inwards. Take your large washer, your small washer, your lock washer, and finally your nut. So we found that the bolt is truly a 13/16. However, the nut we found is really a 7/8. So just keep that in mind here. So I'll grab my torque wrench and we'll torque it to spec. So we got the torque wrench. We set it to 110. And there you got it. And now we're just gonna repeat this on the other side. And finally, we have to make sure that we grease the coupler shaft as well as the main pivot shaft. So we'll show you on the actual thing, but the coupler shaft is right here on the back. This one's easy to see and get to. The one that most people struggle finding is the main pivot shaft, which from this angle, it's actually up under here. There's this little cover that you have to pop off. The best way to get to it is to actually couple up with your truck, deflate the airbag completely, and then it'll expose itself. So we'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So you're gonna grab your grease gun and pop it onto that Zerk fitting there. You're gonna give it a couple pumps. I've already done it, I'm not gonna do it now. But what you really wanna pay attention to, if you come over here, is as you're pumping the grease in, you'll start to see the grease coming out here. So keep an eye on this side. That way you don't over grease it. So now we're gonna try to get to this main pivot shaft, which again is up under here. So in order to have it expose, we need to come up here. We're gonna unscrew our cap and we're gonna deflate the air in the airbag. So you'll see as the airbag deflates, that main pivot shaft starts to show itself. And once you get enough air out, you can take a flathead screwdriver and just pop it right off. And there's the fitting. So again, you're gonna take your grease gun, you're gonna reach up into there, lock onto it, give it a few pumps, and you should be good to go. So now we got it all greased, we're gonna put the cap back on. And then now we're gonna air up the airbag, and in the instructions it's going to tell you to have two people. One person is going to be in here putting air in, the other person is going to be looking from the side on into this hole right here, and there's going to be a bar that's going to come down, and once that bar is lined up in the middle, that's how you know you have enough air. So we got our pump hooked up. We found that using a cordless pump is so much easier, so if you don't have one, consider getting one. So as you can see, that bar came down, it's directly in the middle, and that's how you know that you have it aired up proper. And there you have it, the Reese Goose Box Gen 3 gooseneck installation.